Reddit fresh. Am I the idiot for canceling an Uber Eats order after it was at my door because the driver was being difficult? I, male 19, ordered McDonald's through Uber Eats yesterday. It was processed, and the driver was on the way to my house. As it got on my street, I noticed that the automatic location thingy accidentally put the house right next to mine, so I messaged the Uber driver to correct the mistake. She must have not seen it in time because she was walking up to the other house. I opened my door and called her to let her know that it was my house. She stood there for like 3 minutes telling me that it was for the house next over, and I told her that it was a mistake and the wrong address was put in. She then cautiously walked over to her car while keeping her eyes on me to check her phone. There was someone else in that car who I could only assume was her, looked about 20, daughter. They were whispering to each other for like 5 more minutes. They were talking in a foreign language, but from the sound of it, her daughter seemed really nervous for whatever reason. Then she started walking up to my door sideways so that her shoulder was pointing towards me, very fricking slowly. The whole time she was creeping up to my door, her daughter was calling out to her mom every time she took 4 steps. Okay, I get that safety is important, but I told her like 5,000 times to just check her phone for the message that I sent to her to confirm that it was the wrong house. When she got to my door, she handed me the bag but then pulled it back and said, "Wait, can you tell me the confirmation code?" Or something like that. I asked her what the confirmation code was and she said, "You tell me." I then asked her where it was and she said it was on the phone. Yeah, no freaking poop. I asked her where again and she said, "In the app." I told her I'd send her another message from my phone since we obviously both didn't know where the confirmation code was. She then told me no, and that she needed to see what the confirmation code was. The whole time this was going on, her daughter was pleading with her mom to come back to the car, and finally I just said to keep the fricking food and slammed the door. I called the Uber helpline to get a refund and tell them about the ordeal. My GF said that I was being an idiot to that lady since it wasn't her fault that the address registered the wrong address. She also said I just cost that lady gas and the 2 separate companies money because I canceled my order. I can understand that, but that whole situation took like 30 fricking minutes, on top of waiting for the food to be prepared and her trip over, and I wasn't going to wait any longer for cold food. Am I the idiot? Everyone sucks here, honestly. Yeah, she sucks because the situation could have been handled easily by checking their phone or having you check it. At the same time, while they were talking, you could have texted them, or gotten your phone and checked the app or any number of things to de-escalate the situation yourself. You got to the point of actually being the other half of sucking by yelling at her and slamming the door in their face. It sounds like they were nervous and possibly in an unfamiliar area with a potentially crazy person they don't know telling them to come to their door. I honestly can understand their response, not the idiot. It's her job to double-check her phone after you called her and said what was happening. It should have ended there. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot if I lay off an employee who has a sick daughter when our work pays for our health insurance? Got pulled into my boss's office right when I got in. Turns out our company is laying off a bunch of people. Since I'm in charge of a team of 5 people, myself included, I have to choose the 2 people who are getting laid off. I have to make this choice by 3 p.m. and tell her so they can get all the paperwork and stuff done before the end of the day. One is a no-brainer. She just started working here a month ago and is less experienced than everyone else. The second choice is harder. The guy I'm thinking of has to leave early a lot now because his daughter is sick and in the hospital. Because of her illness, he is also much less focused and gets behind on his work. I told him I understood he's going through a rough time now, but that I needed him to focus and to not leave work early as much anymore. But it's not easy to say no in the moment when he's rushing out the door because his daughter just had a medical complication and he needs to be there. So I didn't push the issue anymore. We were able to manage our workload with the people we had, and well, family is important. But if I lay off another employee instead of him, that just leaves me with 2 employees and a guy that's not always there. I don't think we would be able to stay on our tight schedule, especially since I often need people to work overtime and late into the night. If we don't get our work done on time, I know all the blame is going to be on me, and with them laying people off, it doesn't seem like a good idea to look like I'm underperforming compared to everyone else. Still, I know he probably needs the job, And since our work pays for our insurance, his daughter's treatment might be affected. I don't know how it works exactly, but it's probably not good. Edit. Asked HR about the formula. They said it didn't apply since we've never had over 50 employees. Left them a message about some other benefit stuff you guys mentioned. Waiting to hear back. You're the idiot. The child didn't ask to get so sick she's been hospitalized and has complications. Dad is clearly worried about his daughter and having trouble with that. His performance based on an emergency situation where it sounds like he could lose his daughter isn't fair to base his work on. It's like the post here a few weeks ago. Was I an idiot for firing an employee right after both his parents died? He's not productive enough. Yes you were, and there was no doubt about it. Not the idiot. I think this situation is a tough one that your company is making you do. Yes, it is an idiot move to fire a guy that has a sick daughter. He didn't ask for her to get sick. At the same time, it isn't right firing someone who is a valuable asset to the team and is there more. This is a shitty situation, Op. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for firing a female employee who posts provocative underwear pictures on her Instagram? I, male 29, run a successful event planning business that I started with my ex-wife about 7 years ago. When my ex-wife and I divorced, she also divorced the business, and I then employed about 9 people to work for me. We now have offices, and we have a tight group of employees who are almost like family to me now. About 6 months ago, one of my employees told me she was pregnant, and as a result was going to leave the business to be a full-time stay-at-home mom. I had no issue with this, but it meant I had to find a new employee to take her place. I interviewed a lot of people before finding Olivia, who I went on to employ. Olivia has lots of experience and is absolutely fantastic at her job. The clients love her, and she's really in tune with what the client's needs and desires are. The nature of our work is to build a rapport with our clients, which sometimes means social media is added by clients. For my other employees, this has never been an issue. They post respectable pictures of their families or traveling. It's never been a cause for concern. Olivia, on the other hand, thinks of herself as a bit of an amateur underwear model and posts these pictures on her Instagram in very provocative poses. Usually I wouldn't have an issue with this, but I don't want clients seeing them and immediately looking down on my business. I gave Olivia a warning about a month after she started working for me and told her to stop posting pictures like that as it was bad for the image of the company. She said okay, and for a while she did, but then after a month she started posting them again, even more than she did before. When quarantine began, we were extremely busy as a lot of clients were calling, worried their events were going to be canceled, and during this time, Olivia was posting a provocative picture once every few days. Out of pure stress, I fired her and told her I didn't want her to work for me anymore, and she said she was going to sue me for discrimination and claimed I was being sexist, which I definitely wasn't. The rest of my employees are threatening to leave in solidarity with Olivia. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot. Olivia has lots of experience and is absolutely fantastic at her job. That's what matters. You cannot dictate what employees have on their private Insta. You could dictate that people shouldn't give their private Insta to their business clients. But you actually encourage the opposite. Sorry, but you can't have that much influence on your employees' personal lives. Pretty sure she'll get somewhere with her lawsuit. No idiots here. This is going to be controversial, but this is how the world works. You can choose to employ her or not. She can choose in her personal life to do what she wants. If those two things are not compatible, you can choose to fire her. Posting nude or near-nude photos on Instagram in public does not make you a member of a protected class. No way in hell is Olivia winning a lawsuit. You may decide that her image is not appropriate for your business, and that's your choice. Personally, I think underwear photos are fine, but you may want to think about a policy as your company grows. Incidentally, for all of you saying that she can't be fired legally, what would you say if she had photos with a Confederate flag or a Nazi flag? People's choices have consequences. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot my husband says I am a sexist for not being open to hiring a young, attractive nanny to help care for our children? My husband and I are pregnant with our 3rd child. We were looking to get a nanny to help out for the first 2 years. I am planning on returning to work in 2 months after I deliver. I am a bit uncomfortable having another woman in the house, to be honest, especially someone younger and more attractive than me. I trust my husband. I just don't want to invite that risk to my home. When we were interviewing candidates, I rejected 2 of the nannies despite them being qualified in everything we were looking for. My husband told me that he doesn't want to pick anyone that we aren't both comfortable with around our children. But if I am rejecting them just based on their age and attractiveness, that's sexist. I agree with my husband, in that if I was applying for a job and I got turned down for my age or level of attractiveness, it would be upsetting. But I feel that there should be an exception for someone that will be in our house all day. In his words, that it shows that I am a sexist when I am the employer or the one in power. I don't know. You're the idiot. And I feel bad for the woman who passes your unreasonable standard of being ugly enough to be hired. Work on your own insecurities first. Either you trust your husband or you don't. You're the idiot. But I also understand. Just a piece of comforting advice as a young nanny myself. We get to see the dad every day. We see the bad side of him as much as you do. It's not like we see him at work or out socially when people put on their best personality. We see him when he tells us the kid had diarrhea all night, or that the teen stuck a pen up their nose and it stuck. Also, young nannies usually don't want to date a married guy with 3 kids. Hope some of that comforts you. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for ending the call when my friend told me his dog died? I, 27 male, have 2 friends that are a couple, 42 male and M44. They have been together for around 20 years, and I've known them for almost 6 years. They had a dog that recently passed away and called me to let me know. Now, some background information for context. My mom died when I was born and my dad when I was 8, due to alcoholism. After that, I was taken by my grandmother on my mom's side, and she passed when I was 20. I have no siblings. My friends had their dog for about 12 years, and of course they loved him. I can see how they could be devastated by his passing. My problem comes when they call me to give me the news and ask me how to cope because I have the experience because of how many relatives I have said goodbye to. I was taken a little aback, off guard, and surprised they put it like that. I don't know exactly what it was, but the comparison didn't sit well with me. I told him in our native language, "Fuck you, idiot. It's not the same," and hung up. After that, I realized I was kinda rude, but I thought to myself, if they apologize, I will too. 20 minutes later, one of them starts texting me saying I was an idiot on my reaction and that I had no sympathy for their pain. I didn't answer anything but left him to read. Then he doubled down by saying I was an idiot for not even bothering to respond. I don't feel it was appropriate for them to tell me that. It certainly did not make me feel good, and while I was ready to apologize for my rude answer, I still think they should have apologized first. But overall, they could have just told me their dog died, and I could have given my condolences. Aita for the way I reacted. Edit. I think it is important to mention this. When he called me, this was not the first thing he said. He told me the news. I said I was sorry to hear that. I said how cool the dog was, and how sad it must have been for them to put him down. And then he asked me how to cope with my experience, etc. And also, when you read or imagine me telling him, "Frick you, it's not the same," I did not scream to the phone. It was in a calm manner. Anyways, thank you all for your comments. Not the idiot. What the frick is wrong with your friends? They are comparing the death of a dog to the death of your grandmother who raised you? If I was in your place, I would have torn them a new one for what they said. You're the idiot. Normally, a comparison between a dog and a parent would make them an idiot. This case is a little different. It's been a long period of time since your losses. Of course, they will always stick with you and always hurt. That grief never fully goes away. But that is enough time to be able to cope with such loss, if you know how to cope in healthy ways. They never actually did outright compare the losses either. They simply asked you how you coped because you do have experience with deaths of family members. Their situation is different, but coping mechanisms often work across the board or can be adapted. They're not the assholes here. They're upset and devastated and wanted advice from you.